Right, so we're going to weld this patch on the day onto the dashboard using 1.6mm rods, classification BS639 AWS A5-1, 25 to 50 amps. I'm using it on 30 amps. And what I did was I cut some spare steel up. Not pretty, but you got to practice on some, haven't you? If you haven't done this before on thin steel, like I've never done it before on thin steel, don't think you're going to go in first time and get this right. I've spent all morning cutting little squares of steel up and welding them all back together, practicing A for settings for amps, but also duration of contact. It literally is on, spark it, hold it for about a second and get off, and then give it 2 or 3 minutes to thoroughly cool before you go back in and put another 3, because I'm only putting 3 spots on, 1 on each side at a time, and I'm keeping away from the edges, the points, because you'll just blow the points straight out quite quickly and easily. Once we get it in, we'll then get the rest of the hole shaped out. Let's go and have a look at it. I've been doing it outside because the weather's bloody beautiful today. Right, outside again, back in a minute. Today, look at the skies. We are supposed to be waiting for Storm Kathleen to come in, apparently. People probably one of the best days of the week. It is a little bit breezy, but the wind is picking up. Anyway, piece of 18 gauge steel, 48 thou. What we're going to do, cut a little patch out of it for to patch this dashboard up with. Let's have a quick look, see what we're doing, eh? So we'll cut a little patch out, just tacked it in. You see, I just tacked it on the corners, and we're going to let it cool, and then we'll just keep touching for like 1 point per side, and we'll let it cool. What you don't want to be doing is putting too much heat into this, because it'll expand up as it welds, and then it'll shrink as it cools, and it'll stretch and ping and not be very good. So then we've got to shape the other side of this hole out, haven't we? Right, let's get cracked on with this, see if we can get some couple of bits of metal welded together here. By the way, I'm no expert welder, but I have spent all morning practicing on bits of scrap steel from that plate, make sure I wasn't going to blow holes in anything. Back in a minute. Right. Oh, golly gosh. It's nice to have a lovely day, isn't it? Be outside again. Right, that's all tacked in. We'll let it cool. We'll hit it with the, what do you call it, that flapper wheel with, I'll find my glasses, 80 grit flapper wheel. Tidy it all up, and then we'll reshape the middle bit. Then we'll look at doing a bit of painting. Not the day though. Right, we've got that welded in. In the previous video, I did say that I was going to braze it in, didn't I? And I changed my mind, and I welded it in, because if you braze it in, you've got to use the gas torch and get the entire area red hot for the flux and the braze to take a hold. And that's putting more heat into that area than the welding actually does. Because when you spot weld it with the welder, you're on, you're off, you're out of there. And it cools, doesn't it? And to be honest with you, by the time I got to the third tack, the first tack was nearly cool enough to touch again. So it was more beneficial from a metal point of view to weld it in. It's probably strong at the end of the day as well. However, I did make a little boo-boo. Let's have a look. As you can see here, I've got filler in the hole, and if you go back in this video, you'll see there's a slight area up here that is just slightly depressed, and I didn't line the two. I had this right here and here, but the top of here I mustn't have had the plate lined up perfectly, and this end of the plate is slightly below the area of the dash, hence the little bit of filler in there. And I've also put a little bit of filler just in there, which is where the 6 spot welds are for the tray that your regulator would have sat on had we been going to be putting a dynamo back on, or generator back on this. But since it's got an alternator on, you don't need the regulator. So I just sort of tidy them little dents up, and that's where the spot welds have been. And because the spot welds were so hot, it's actually shrunk the metal and pulled it in tight. So another reason why to spot weld and not braze, because of the amount of heat you'd be putting into that area. Right, get us an hour or so to go off, come back, we'll give it a bit of a rub, and we'll see where we're at. Right, finally, after a very trying day, and I mean a full day, we've finally got the filler to set. I'll show you in a minute, and it wasn't the little bit of filler that I really needed to put in, it was the little bit of filler that I like to put in just to make things a little bit better. Would it hell set? I had to scrape it off 3 times, alter the amount of hardener that I was putting into fresh, and put it back on, and then take it in the house. And I wouldn't care. It's quite a nice day today out there, you know what I mean? Right, let's have a look at it, because we've managed to get some primer on it. Right, first coat of primer, or rather second coat. I've got some filler in here that, because when I put this on, I put my big welding magnet across here to hold this plate in position. And what happened was when I tacked this corner, it must have pulled the top piece down. Ideally I could have had 3 little magnets on there, but when you're welding in plates you have to make sure that the surface of the plates is perfectly level. Otherwise, like that, you end up having to put filler in it, which is not ideal. Right, I think you can see here 1, 2, 3-ish, and that was where I couldn't get the filler to set. I was trying to fill in the dents left by the spot weld when they welded the tray on the back. So, would it hell set? Let's have a look. The back's still drying. Okay, so we're going to give that 15 minutes-ish so we can get rid of all the damp, what looks like damp patches here. And then we'll give it a final coat for tonight. And then we'll just let it hang up over the weekend, and it'll get itself dried and hardened off, and then we'll be able to give it a bit of a scrub with some Scotch Brite before we put our orchid white onto it. We'll take it back to the tractor, put it back on the tractor, make sure everything fits still. I know just paint it shouldn't change anything, but if I want to fettle it again now if we need to, because we can always touch the primer up a lot easier than you can touch a top coat up. I've got this tape. Let's see if we can. Looks like a double P profile to go inside this edge here once it sits on top of the fuel tank. That's it for this video. I know it's been bits and pieces, but literally that's the way the dashboard's been. It's been bits and pieces. I've been trying to get jobs done on it. 2 steps forward, 5 steps backwards with this one. So, thanks very much for visiting, guys. As always, your time is greatly appreciated when you come seeing us messing about with our tractors. But remember, don't overthink it. It's only nuts and bolts. Catch you in the next one. Ta-ra now.